What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about cameras in Revit. So you probably know that to create a perspective view in Revit you need to use the camera tool. It's pretty straightforward, but in this video I decided to take the time and then go slowly step by step over everything that you need to know and everything that you can possibly know about cameras in Revit. So I'm going to be showing you how to place the camera, how to orient it properly, all of the little features and options that we have when it comes to orientation and navigation inside of camera views, how to adjust them properly, how to go over all of the little settings and features and options and set those up correctly so you have the perfect view. We're going to be talking about focal length when it comes to these cameras, and we're also going to be talking about how to achieve two-point perspective, which tends to look really good. So I'm going to be talking about all of this in this video. Now, before we get into the video itself, I would just like to ask you to like this video. It helps me out a lot, helps promote the video even further, and also make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell icon. Not only will it help you not miss any of my future videos, but more importantly, it will make the alpaca happy, and let's be honest, that's why we're all here. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go into Revit. And as you can see, here I am in Revit, and I have a project opened up. Now, this is my office building project, and I have actually created this as a part of a course where I show you everything step by step how to complete this moderately complex project and produce all of the necessary project documentation. And it's available on my website, balkanarchitect.com. That's going to be the first link just below this video in the description, and then also in the cards above. So if you're interested in this course or any of my other courses available on my website, make sure to check it out. Okay, so back to the building. So here we are, and we're just going to be using this for kind of demonstration purposes. And what I'm going to do now is just navigate here inside of the project browser, go to the site plan, and then inside of the site plan, I'm just going to be placing a single camera. So to place a camera, what you want to do is find the camera. So it's here on the quick access toolbar, you have your default 3D view. Now you don't click on that, you expand the little drop menu next to that, and then you click on camera. Alternatively, you can find the same option here on the view tab, and there we have the 3D view, and here we have the camera, which just means a perspective 3D view. Now, once you're creating a camera, it actually doesn't really matter are you starting it as a camera or as a default 3D view, because for both options you have the perspective, which you can check on or off. Now, obviously, because we're creating perspective views, we're just going to be setting this on, and then you have the option to set up the offset. Now, the offset is basically your eye elevation or your camera elevation. So do you want the camera to be on the ground? Do you want it to be up in the sky or somewhere in the middle? So by default, it's set to kind of some average eye elevation, I guess, which is taller than me, which is making me a little angry, but that's okay. And then finally we have the offset from, so where is kind of the ground plane on which your cameraman is standing and filming with that camera. In this case, I'm just going to select the street view. Obviously we're looking at this from the street, and then your cursor turns into a little camera. See how we have that little camera here. Now, placement of the camera is done by a couple of clicks. So you click once to decide where the position of the person is going to be, and then you click the second time to position the target. The target is kind of the direction in which your camera is going to be facing. So in this case, because we have the building here, what you want to do is go way past the building, and then you click. And also you will see on the sides, perhaps you see it here better, you have these little lines coming at an angle, and they are basically showing you what's going to be included in that view. So they're just showing you that if you, I don't know, if you place the camera like this, that upper edge of the building will not be visible. So you just want to include the entire building. So I'm just going to go like that, go past the building, that's the important part, and then click. Okay, and immediately the camera view is going to open up. Now, something that I like to do is I like to tile my views. So I like to place my camera view next to the floor plan view or the site plan view so I can easily adjust it. So let me do that. I'm just going to switch to the site plan view, take the camera view here, undock it, and then you want to dock it here. So see how it opens up like that. And then you can see your camera view here. Let me perhaps expand it. I guess you cannot see it very well from my head. There we go. So we have this camera view here, and then we have the site plan over here. Now, in the camera view, when you deselect the camera view, you cannot see the camera any longer in the site plan. But if you select the just the boundary or the kind of the outside crop region of this camera view, now that camera is available here in the site plan, and you can see that the camera position is here, and then the target position is this over here. So for your camera, if you want to reposition that camera, you can just click in your site plan, and then you can start moving the camera, which basically moves the position of the person looking at the building. So as you can see, I can move it here. If I want the person to be at the parking lot, I can move it there. But in this case, the camera doesn't really catch the entire building anymore. So then you can just select your target, and then you can just drag it like this. See? Now we have kind of the entire building in view. So just by moving your camera and your target you can kind of adjust what you want to be seeing for your view. Now, we're only talking about 2D in this case, so only 2 dimensions. You can obviously set it up in 3D, so you can select that camera, either just be here in the camera view. So once you have that camera view active, here in the properties panel, you will have the option to set eye elevation. Also, you can just select that camera, and then again, it's going to display the same thing. And now I can say, okay, I want to change the eye elevation. Now in this case, it's I'm guessing it's measuring from the 0, 0, which is kind of above the street level. So that's why it only says 75 and not 175. But anyways, here you can see that they're at the same height. But if I want to look up, I just need to move my target up. So if I go here to target elevation and go with, I don't know, let's go 300 and then hit apply. As you can see, it looks up a little bit because it moved this target up. So I can go to, I don't know, like 600, so that's like 6 meters. And now it looks even further up. Let's try 12. There we go. So we're looking even further up, and now we can see the entire building. So that's one way of navigation, and it's usually just by using the numbers and navigating through the camera. Now the second way of navigation, and for that we can just bring this in. There we go. Okay, so for the second way of navigating, I'm going to be showing you how to use the navigation wheel. So the navigation wheel is located over here above my head, and it's called the full navigation wheel. You can expand this little menu, and then you have different options. I'm just going to click on the full navigation wheel, and it looks like this. And now you can just place it wherever you want to kind of center, and then here we have zoom, for example, and then you can basically zoom in with your camera. You have the option to orbit, which kind of orbits around your camera. You have the option to, let's try pan, so it's, well, basically panning around your camera. And then also we have some options here in the middle, but more importantly on this side we have the rewind option. So once you click on that, it's going to show you all of the previous views that you had with that camera. So you can just go all the way back. So if you're not happy with the view, you can readjust it. So for example, here we've kind of moved a bit. So let's see if I can just bring it back. Here's that original position. There we go. So let's say I want to keep it back at this. I can just rewind back. So you just move this around, and then where you let go, it's just going to go back to that view. Now also here we have the option to walk. See how it says walk? Now this is really cool because once you click on that and you just drag it out, now make sure to be really careful. You don't want to go too fast because it's going to be too quick. So you just want to go slowly, and you're holding your mouse button all the time. So your left mouse button, and then you can move around, and it's just like playing a first-person shooter game or something like that. So it's really cool. You can just move around your scene, and this is also really useful for showing the building to your client, something like that. So there you go. That's how you can use this. Now, it is going to be tricky at first, so just be careful. But once you get the hang of it, it's really fun. Also, something that's important here is center, which kind of brings your eye elevation and your target elevation back to the same level. This is really important because this then gives you the 2-point perspective, which means that all of your, let me just close this off, both of your sides here are parallel. So that gives you that kind of nice 2-point perspective effect. And if you want to go back to your full navigation wheel, you just go back here. So feel free to play around with this. I think it's a really cool option. Okay, next let's talk about your lens. So for your lens, you might be thinking, well, why are we talking about lenses? Well, because it's a camera. So by default, Revit is going to give you something like a 50mm lens. Now, if you're into photography, you probably already know about different lenses, but the 50mm, if you don't know much about photography, that's like the medium lens. That's like the standardized lens. And that's why Revit gives you that out of the box. Now, unlike with some other 3D software, Revit unfortunately doesn't have the option for you to customize that lens. You cannot say, okay, I want a 24mm lens, or I want a, I don't know, like a 100mm lens. You don't have that option. You can only manually change your lens or your depth of field just by going here, selecting this crop region. And if you cannot see it here in the extents, so here in the properties panel, your crop view has to be, of course, turned on, and then also the crop region visible has to be turned on. And now you can expand that, and that's going to give you a wider field. Now, the downside of this whole thing is you can start playing around like this, and then you can go too much to one side. And then if I just select this and go back to the site plan, you can see that the target is here, but the camera is looking off to this side. Now, this is bad because it gives you a lot of distortion. So let me go back to our 3D view, and let me just use this navigation wheel to just look around and see how now, if I look around, see how distorted this building looks like. So that's definitely not something you want to see. This doesn't look realistic to anybody. So that's why you really want to be careful, and you don't want to mess things up when it comes to this crop region. So let me just go back, all the way back like that. There we go. So feel free to move it around a little bit if you want, maybe make it a bit smaller or a bit bigger, but don't go crazy because it is going to give you more distortion. A little bit of distortion can be really good because it can give you a little bit more depth. So for example, if I go here to the site plan, if I move closer to the building, and then let's see, okay, I've moved in front of the sign, so let's walk a bit further. There we go. So see how here, if we expand this a little bit, it can look really cool. Even though it does have a bit of distortion, it's not too much. And or if, I don't know, for you it may be a bit too much, but it can look really cool with a little bit of distortion. Just don't go crazy with that. So that's just something that I would like to give you sort of as a tip. Okay, now let's go back farther out. And here, also in the site plan here, you can see how it's now much wider. So it kind of that kind of change, widening of that crop region is visible here in the site plan as well. And we can also see that the angle here, the upper one is a bit smaller than the lower one. So you might want to look at that and then say, okay, let's go back here. Perhaps this one can even go farther out, or this one can come closer in, because it's usually best when those two angles are the same. So I guess we have to go a bit further in here. There we go. See how now those two angles are kind of starting to look very similar. Okay, moving forward, let's talk about the far clip. So the far clip is something that is, well, this over here. When you create the camera, you get this little button here and you can drag out your far clip. Now this is designed in situations where you might have a big scene and you might not want to show the whole scene. You just might want to show one part of the scene. Well, in that case, you can just bring this in. So let me show you. In this case, if I just select the camera, go to the side plan, and then pull this in, and if I just see how it gotten past the building, perhaps let's just go like this, go back to the 3D view, and now we're only seeing this little corner of the building because that far clip is kind of cutting off that back side of the building. Now, if we go here to the properties panel, you can see that far clip offset is set over here, so you can numerically change that. So if I type in 5 here, as you can see, we can see more of the building and so on. But in most cases, I just keep this turned off because I think everything looks better when we have kind of that infinite look. And as long as you don't have a background or a surrounding in the back that you don't want to see, you're most likely going to use the far clip active turned off. So that's also something to keep in mind. And finally, for the 2-point perspective, something that you should definitely think about. Well, for that 2-point perspective, it's just important that you don't look up or don't look down or anything like that. So just make sure that here you go to center. And let's see, does it equalize it? No, it didn't equalize that. So if it doesn't do it there, you can go here to the properties and just make sure that your eye elevation is the same as the target elevation. So here I would just take this number, go to Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. And now as you can see, it looks like this, and both of this line here and this line here and this line here, they're both straight. So that's that 2-point perspective. And if you look up, see how now they're both at an angle. So this one is at an angle and this one, especially if you're closer to the building. So if I were to select this and then come in closer to the building, okay, it's a bit difficult with this target. Okay, there we go. So if we were a bit closer to the building and then we were to look up, you can see how much distortion there is. See this angle here and here as well. Yeah, that's something that it might look good in some cases, but if you want to avoid that, just make sure that the eye elevation and target elevation are the same, and then you can just crop the image a bit differently. And finally, one more tip that I want to give you is how to easily orient your views, and that's by going here to the little 3D cube, right-clicking, and here we have the Orient to View. So you have the option to orient to your floor plans, elevations, sections, and 3D views. So I like to go here to elevations, for example, and then go to south elevation, and it's going to orient that to that south elevation. So we're just looking at it from the south elevation point. Also, you can right click here and then you have the orient from direction. So you can go, you even have the northeast, for example. So it's just going to give you the northeast isometric. So you can just play around with these orientations from different sides. See how it gives you a different one here and so on. And finally, if I just right click here, you have the option to orient to plane. So if you have a reference plane anywhere in your model, it can orient according to that. So let's see, okay, we do have a bunch of these. So let's use grid B, for example, click OK, and now it went to the south elevation because the grid B is kind of parallel to that south elevation. So that's just another way how you can orient that from view. And when you use that orient to view, it is going to generate a section box, so just keep that in mind. If you don't want a section box, feel free to just go here to the properties and uncheck that section box, and there you go. It's no longer active. So there you go. That's pretty much everything that we have as far as settings for our camera go. I hope you have enjoyed this video and I hope you have learned something new. Also, if you think I have missed some of the features or functions, or if you have your own particular workflow, please tell me in the comment section below the video. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.